Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5, Racing. This is a huge topic. I'm going to try and cover it all. In the bottom I've put the chapters in, so you can skip across bits if you're not interested, but hopefully it keeps moving at a pace that will inform you of what's going on. So I'll just go over the single player options because I think it's quite good. I think it's better than a lot of games racing against the AI for practice. So we're going to head into single player because this is where I'd recommend that you start. Now I've just pressed the up button, get to that open series. I would make sure that it's on open series. You can start playing around with all these other ones with the, the 2023 World Challenge, but open series will let you have access to all cars and do whatever you want. So I would go for that. Right, game modes. If we start in the top left with practice, we've already talked about that briefly. You can change the day and night and multiply. You just go in, get some practice time. Hotlap, the conditions are fixed. So you will go and do a lap, and every time you start a lap, it will reset the weather conditions. If you go off the track, it will invalidate the lap, and it will pull you out and start you back at the beginning again. But if you are lapping consistently without going off the track, then it'll just be it'll feel like a continuous session. The Super Bowl is 2 laps, I believe. Yes, there we go. Just read it over on the right-hand side. So the Super Bowl is you do your out lap from the pits. Oh, yeah, so the hot lap, you start on the track, and it starts you before the pit lane so that you can get the best run out and then do your hot lap. Hotlap Super Bowl is kind of that qualification process. So it could be quite a good way to practice your qualifying. You set off from the pits and you've got 2 laps to set your quickest time. So that can be quite a good one. The hot stint is where you can kind of say, right, I'm going to go for 30 minutes and see how many laps I can do. This can be quite good, but I would have thought there are better ways to practice your consistency and getting that done. For instance, in our server, like in the video we did yesterday or whenever episode 3 was out. Then quick race can be good for just jumping into a race. However, I would recommend that we start on custom race weekend. I would skip the practice probably, go straight into qualifying length. And then what I would do is set what I expect to be a good opponent skill for me, depending on where I'm at. If I'm really quick, it's going to be at 100. If I'm not really quick, then the lowest you can have is 80. And then go out and do the qualifying session and see where you sit. Are you in the middle of the grid? Have you won by seconds? Are you way off by seconds? And as you improve or find that you're way out in front or having that issue, then just quickly jump out from qualifying and just start increasing this until you find somewhere that you've got a good challenge in qualifying, because then the AI in the race will be a good battle as well. And then you can come back out. You can I would set a low qualifying time just to see what times they're getting. That's the other way to do it, is you can go in and then start the qualifying, skip the session and see what times the AI got, and then come back and adjust it to see what your best time is and where you would fit. Hopefully that all makes sense on what's going on there. But I would jump in and out of qualifying a few times because you want your skill to be set where it's challenging, and you can get some good practice in. Once you've got that, this is the best way to come in and practice. Set yourself your 10 minutes, do a race length of maybe 20 minutes, and then come back in. And opponent count doesn't really matter because you're only going to be battling with the 3 or 4 cars that are around you, but it can feel nice with more cars on. But I wouldn't have said that that's a vital thing to do. Make sure your skill and your aggressiveness is set, and then enjoy going out and having some good battles. If we scroll down here, you can also set what cars are on, which is where if you want to choose a GT2 car, can we just go? Yeah, you can go just over the edge. So if you press left or right when it's full, you can just change the whole scale. So it may be that we want to do GT2 racing, so we can just flick this and do GT2. Or we could say actually mix it between GT2 and GT3. Or if you want more GT2 cars, you can sit. You get the idea. There's no point in going on in this, right? So that's how the quick race works and the custom weekend. We're just going to jump into a race to show you how it works when you start a race. But first, just before we do that, I realize we've not done the circuits. So the circuits are along the bottom. And if you don't have access to a circuit, then it will show a padlock like Nürburgring 24 hours does for me. Then same with the cars. You can go into the cars. However, these don't show you the padlock here. It'll show you the padlock when you go in. It's a little bit more frustrating because you have to go into the car to see if you've unlocked it or not. And then you have to come back all the same. So then, is there a back button? No, it says circle to go back, but it actually pulls you right out back to this screen. So there you go. So then you can choose your cars. If you've got it on the open season, you can choose any car. On the right-hand side, you can choose different liveries here. We won't go through custom liveries in this one. You can choose a different set of drivers between the 3 hours and the 6 hours and choose the different cars. Then I believe you can change your initial driver as well. And then you can click confirm and you've got your car selected. Then you've got the realism settings. We'll go through these in another video, and I'm going to make these all available so you can get going sooner rather than later. Weather is just what you expect. If you want some preset ones, you can choose these. If you want to do custom, then you can do custom, come across and choose whatever settings you want on the track. Then assists as well, we'll do that in another video as well. Now we're going to jump into a race and we will show you how the start works. Okay, so in we jump to the race. The eagle-eyed ones of you will notice that I tried to start a Hotlap session, but here we go. So now you can go into the setup. You can load any setups that you've got that you want. You can play around with anything you want here. Make sure you check your fuel before a race. That's always important. And sort out anything you want to there. I'm just jumping in for an example, so I'm not going to play around. Again, that's probably a whole nother video. Once you're happy and you're set in single player, you've got all the time in the world. This is different to online. We'll show you that. And then we click start race and away we go. If you've got auto engine on, then your engine will start. If you've not, just get your engine started and we'll go into gear and just go forward, and that will trigger everybody else in single player. So that's the difference. In single player, it's waiting for you to get going. And once you get going, everybody else will start. And you can just go, and I can just hold it on the throttle here. It will hold me in position. Again, this is different to online. So this is single player only, and we can just hold the throttle down. Oh, people struggling with the... AI struggling with the sausage curbs already. So we can just hold our finger on the throttle all the way down this straight. So this is the difference with single player to multiplayer. I'm on the throttle, and then as soon as it goes green, I'm away. And we're off and racing. Now, this is a really good way to get to practice and see how you're going to react coming down into turn one. So I'm coming down, brake lights are going on. Now look at this. This is the difference, is that in single player, I feel like a hero. Look at that. What a move. Straight down the inside. I've gained 2 or 3 places already. And look at that gap, just shot straight into it. Now, I would have said this is great practice on how not to do that, because you can learn against the AI that you're like, oh yeah, there's a space, I'll launch it down and it'll be fine. But in online racing, somebody else is going to go for that gap. It won't be as easy as that. So learn how to lift and stay kind of roughly in the position that you're in. I think that's a really good tactic to try and learn in single player. But the AI is really good. I would go and have a few races here and see how you get on. And that is single player and all we're going to look at for those. The only other thing that oh no, that is it for that. We're going to talk about etiquette in the next bit. Okay, I thought I'd just put a race on in the background whilst we talk about etiquette during the different sessions on the track. So, in the practice session, it's just there to get into the server, get your setup sorted. Now, in some of the online races, people use it to go out and get a few laps in and see what the tires are doing, which is fine. What I'd recommend against doing is trying to race people in the practice session, because you'll find that they're really just looking to get their tire temps done. They don't want to battle, they just want to do some clean laps and see what their tires are doing. I suggest you do the same, which means just leaving a bit of space, being a bit sensible, because if you ruin somebody during their practice session, then they'll have to go back to the pit and they won't be able to set their temperatures. And it's just not what we want in ACC. In the qualifying, we need to leave space as well. Take a look around you. On the outlap, you should be able to use some common sense there to see, am I approaching the person in front? Have I got enough room? You've got a whole lap. Now, some people will race through the out lap and then suddenly brake at the last corner thinking, oh yeah, I'll leave some space now before I set off. I'm more of the impression that it's better to take that out lap and pace yourself on the out lap. And that way, you don't have to stop at the end. You've got your warm tyres and you're off. And try and find yourself some space. Generally, if I'm feeling confident that I can lap at my pace, I will let everybody go. I'll leave a huge gap, and then I'll go out in the huge space between the first and the last car. So that's the qualifying kind of etiquette. But yeah, if you reach the end and you're really close and they're bunching up, just let people go one at a time and we will all get along fine, and we're going to have an amazing race experience, or at least an amazing qualifying experience of that. That leads us on to the race. Now, damage in ACC is very real. The contacts can be very frustrating because a small tap on your car can send you off to Narnia, and it gets very frustrating, especially if you're in a longer race and you are thinking, right, we've got 45 minutes and we all go into turn one. Nobody lifts, nobody brakes until their normal braking point, and there's pandemonium. You can see some of these things in the series that we're doing called You Can't Park There. Watch that space for having some good etiquette videos, and we will get there. But in the race, it is all about trying to keep it clean and then race, especially if you're doing online racing in leagues or in SimGrid seasons. And in league racing, you'll find some of the best racing, but you'll also find that it's well stewarded. So you will find that there will be punishment and penalties for people who are not following the rules. In the online racing, in public servers, you'll find that there just isn't that stewarding. So you can find that there's people thinking that they are Max Verstappen and clearly not, and just causing chaos. The best advice is just to watch out for these drivers and just let them pass. You're better to let someone go past and then have their own issues and crash out because they're pushing their car to the limit than you try and defend and have them cause any problems. And we can see there, I've just let my controller run out of battery. So that's, yeah, so in the race, just make sure that you leave a little bit of extra space, and we will all get along fine, and we'll have a really good racing experience for it. And as the more you get going and the more you learn who you're racing with, the more comfortable you will get. But I need to go and plug this controller in because we're missing all of the action. So we'll leave it at that, and we're going to move on to the online play now. Okay, so I can't remember whether we touched on this for the consistency in trying to find a server, so we'll just quickly go over it again. So coming in here, and there's a few more things to go over now I get to this screen and remember. So you've got the quick join on the left. First thing is to select your car in the middle. So go into there and select your car. I'm going to leave it on the Audi. And what you need to make a note of here is you see the car assignment there that says primary. You can set your favorite GT2 car. So you can come in here and say, yeah, we want the, oops, not that one. We want this one. And we're going to do the Maserati GT2. And then we come down here. We can go primary. Oh, and there is a bug there. You see the car assignment is staying on primary for the GT2 when you select it. Oh, it doesn't change. This game as a port from the PC is very buggy, but you just need to understand what's going on. So you can choose your favorite GT3 car when it's a GT3 server. These are all the different server types that you can choose. And your primary one will be when it's a mixed server and multi-class. There's a competition server, but you can kind of just ignore that. It's not very popular as far as I'm aware. I've not been in for a while though. There's much better places to go and find racing. Same with matchmaking options. I tend to just avoid the quick join. I would tend to just come down to this server list. And we'll jump into here, and you can see there is 175 servers in the list. Now, here we go then for the finding a server list. So at the top, we've got crossplay on and off, whether you want to race against people on PlayStation or Xbox and playing on, go against people on the other platform. So white means that it's selected. At the top here, the server type. Oh, yeah, just the navigation is a pain. So going up, you can't keep going up. You can't go up. Even though you're at this top bar, to get up to the search item, you have to go up to refresh list and then go right. But weirdly, you can go down, and it goes down to crossplay. But then if you try and go back up, it goes to server type. I'm sorry, I don't know what we need to ask them to do to fix that. But anyway, that's how you can get around. So if you know what server you're joining because you're part of a league or you've joined up somewhere there, you search in the top. But your league will also help you out in trying to find it. Then you've got ping limit if you want to only join servers that have got a certain ping. If you want ones that only you can join, this will remove servers that are full and servers for tracks or cars that you don't have access to. So you can see here we're on all, and you see we get the name of the server, you get all of the sessions underneath, you get the requirements to get in, so you need 2 track medals and 50 SA. So doing the accessible one will remove anything where you're missing those entry requirements. I suggest not turning that on because you want to see the server, even if it's full, you'd be like, oh, that's the one, I can't get in because it's full, etc., etc. Then you've got crossplay. Then you've got I sort by drivers because I want to find the most drivers in a server because I like to have a good range of drivers in there. You're more likely to find somebody that is at your level because these servers don't have any rating or splits to kind of put faster drivers in. So it's just hit or miss. So my suggestion would be that you join some with more drivers in because you're more likely to find people at your level. Then you can also sort by ping. So then you've only got these low ones and it removes any servers that are away from you. But if you're in somewhere not in Europe, then you may find that the numbers are less. So you may want to try and join some of these. Just be aware of your connection and leave extra space if your ping isn't great. Okay, so that's finding the servers. Then you can choose a server, and you can see here this top one is mixed, and it's chosen the Audi, which is my primary car. Now, if I go and search for SimGrid Seasons, because I know that these ones are all GT3 over on the right, and we get the track and the amount of people in, whether it's crossplay and the ping over there. So in the practice session, now see the Audi on the left-hand side of the screen? When we choose a GT3 server, see now it's changed to the McLaren because I had the McLaren selected as the GT3 car. This causes some people a bit of problems when they suddenly go to connect and like, well, why is it chosen the McLaren now? So this is how you do it. You pick your server, then go to the left, then choose your car here. And then when you come back out, it'll be selected, then connect. And when you connect, it will be this car. If you're in a league and it says, hey, you've got the wrong car, then if you get that warning, it will tell you what car you're meant to be in, what car you're registered in, and you'll have to take it up with the hosts to sort that. But I would have thought by the time you see that, you've just got to go for it. Go in the other car and do your best. So that is finding the server. Next, we're going to jump into the session and have a look how an online session differs from single player. Okay, so here is the end of my qualifying session in an online race. We're going to come around the corner and we're going to do enough to get second. But you can see the time at the top has run out. So that was it. We cross the line and the session finishes. We get second, quite a way off first place. So there are definitely faster people out there. But then when we start here, when we go back, you can see the session start is in 1 minute and 10 seconds. So at the moment, the drive... Oh, let me go back. We're just watching the replay. So at the moment, this is all in the wrong place. But at the moment, we wait for it to go back. Now, you see the drive over on the left-hand side is not selectable yet. That only becomes selectable at 30 seconds to go. So this time is to go into your setup and you're going to have a look at your settings, make sure you're right. And the biggest thing is to sort out the fuel. And as well as looking from the pit stop video, it's a time to sort out your pit stop. But obviously, I'm not going to go into the pit stop here because we've covered that in a whole other video. So we are going to skip over these 10 seconds, and eventually we're going to get to 30 seconds left. Your little pit crew will tell you as well, your spotter will tell you and say, hey, there's 30 seconds left, there's 20 seconds left, there's 10 seconds left. You can see the drive there is pulsating. It means we can click drive. And as you click on drive, whenever you're ready, past me, just click drive, please. There we go. And you can see here that the screen disappears and we're now in the car. If you don't click drive in that time, then you will start from the pits and you'll wait till everybody goes past and then you'll get to start. Now, if you're unsure about the starts or you're just really nervous, that can be an absolutely fine way to get going and start your journey into online racing, because the starts can get very busy. But if you've practiced in single player, you should be good here, unless the only thing you've practiced in single player is how many positions you get at the start. These races, this one's 20 minutes long. There's nothing worse than getting into the race and being taken out at turn 1. So my advice would be, the more cars there are in front of you, the slower you're going to need to go into turn 1. So lift before your normal braking point. Watch for the brake lights in front and try and match their brake lights to make sure that you don't plow into the cars in front. Okay, so now we are going to go. The time ticks off and we're there. We're going to start the engine. You see there, stay in green target area. Collisions are disabled until the green light. So you see the red arrow that pointed me across to the right? That's because first place didn't start the race, or they started from the pits. So we were in the wrong position. So just watch out for that. You've got time. You don't need to panic. Just follow what the red arrow says if it's there. And otherwise, you just sit in your little green area. This is covered in the penalties as well. If you're outside of this area, you risk getting a drive-through or a stop and go, and possibly a disqualification, I think, if you go all out. Then when it swaps over, you're going to just hold your speed there. I like to use a bit of the brake and accelerator, and you're just waiting for the green light, and then you are flat out and going. And as you come down, we're just going to lift. We want to stay on the right-hand side. There's somebody on our right, so we slow down to make sure there's more than enough room, because I'd rather get through, and look at this, they've managed to get through. I'd rather that happen and we all survive, look at this, all nicely survive there through turn 1, than I think, oh yeah, no, I can keep that position, I can get through. It's like, it's a 20-minute race, there's lots of time for us to settle in and have some good battles. But that is the difference in the start for online versus single player. That's it, I think, really. I don't think there's anything else for me to say. Yep, I think that is it, and we have covered everything. Just watch out for your fuel. That's probably the biggest thing when you're doing races with different lengths. Try and understand what fuel you need. You can just do some rough maths. 20 minutes, I normally take about 45 litres in. 12 minutes, you'll get away with 30. And 45 minutes, I normally think I'll need about 85 litres. As a general rule of thumb, I tend to prefer to take more fuel because there's nothing worse than getting to the last lap. You don't just slow down, you will stop, and then you'll need to go back to the pits. And in the online race, I don't know what it's like in single player actually, but in the online, if you can't pause, that's something that's different. You can't pause whilst driving. You have to stop. So if you're going to do that, drive off the track and drive just well off the racing line. So that nobody comes and hits you. Whilst you're paused, your feedback on your wheel will still register. So if you stop on the track and hit pause and someone comes and smashes into you, your wheel will suddenly spin round, and that can be very dangerous. So it's also a safety notice. Make sure that you are back and in the pit when you do it. So you can, you hit pause and hit return to garage. But you have to be stopped when you do it. And it will cost you. When you do it, it's as if you're towed back to the garage. So you'll get into the pit lane and it'll say your controls are locked for like 2.5 minutes. So if you just need something doing to your car like repairs, it's normally quicker to drive back and get to the pits yourself. And there's a whole thing about pitting and damage. So we won't go into that. As we've said in other games, there's as we've said in other videos, there's no ghosting here, so even if the car in front spins, it's all about stopping before you hit them. as we can just demonstrate here, going round to this right, they go deep. We think, oh yes, look at this, we can get side by side, but they're just coming across. And again, it's safer for us to back off and live to fight another day than to be the hero and go for the move. And so that is it. This has been the online series. If you've got any questions, throw them into the comments below. Hopefully this is helpful. If I've missed anything, let me know, or just let other people know in the comments as we finish up this. So this is, yeah, this has been the racing video, and it's all about having nice, clean racing that we're looking for. Be the change that you want to see in the game, as we managed to do a nice switcheroo there and get past the Ferrari. Nice moves. See you later.